Today we are taking a look at the... Wait, hold on a second. This isn't a 60s episode. Right, give me a second. Ah, there we go. As I was saying, today we've got quite an exciting review on our hands. We're moving out of the 60s and into the 70s. And we'll be looking at the delightful Robot set, based on Tom Baker's first episode of the same name. An episode which came out in 1974. This was a year where we had horror classics such as The Exorcist being released in the UK, as well as Young Frankenstein releasing. Gotta love that film. Moving back to the review though, we can see that the figures come in the very familiar window-style packaging with the image of the TARDIS on the side, the Doctor Who logo up top, but it comes in a slightly different shape, which is actually a square shape, opposed to the usual rectangle that we'd see in your History of the Daleks set or so. As a standard by this point, the box comes with an image of the TARDIS on the front and the side of the box, and the trademark window at the top, making it look like we're the giant robot this time round. A quick flip round to the back of the box gives us a lovely photograph of the figures within, as well as a small bit of info on the episode itself, which is actually quite interesting, so yeah, pause it and give it a read. Releasing this beautiful but mechanical monstrosity from the box gives us a lovely look at the backdrop that he comes with. It's relatively plain compared to other backdrops that we've got with other figures, but there are some nice details, such as this shiny hallway floor, as well as this room which I believe is meant to be the same room where the Fourth Doctor meets the K1 robot for the first time. There's also the Easter egg of a keep out sign. If only the Doctor read that in the episode. There's also some lovely brick detailing here, which helps you to feel like it's part of the old Doctor Who set. But with diorama out of the way, let's take a look at the figures, taking a look at the K1 robot first. Oh boy. Now this is such a beautiful figure to finally be able to add to my collection, because unless you've been living under a rock for the past 15 years, then you'd know that this guy is super duper rare. Like, really, probably because he's a build-a-figure. As you can see here, the robot was assembled with 8 different parts that came with 8 different figures. Quite an interesting method of collecting a figure if you ask me. I also love the fact that there's instructions on how to assemble the robot in the box, as if people didn't know how to build it already. As can be seen here, the robot originally had the red dome as well as the red lines on the shoulders, which is inaccurate to the episode, and this is where the new robot comes in. The dome now has pink instead of red, as well as the pink lines on the shoulders, which is much more accurate to the episode. Now it may be hard to see through the dust on the packaging considering it's a pretty old figure of mine, but they actually have done up the silver, using the same silver on the Dead Planet Daleks and the silver Nemesis Cybermen, which really helps the figure become quite vibrant and, like the Daleks, quite pop, really giving that 70s feel to the figure. The lines on the shoulders, instead of being this matte red, are now a metallic pink, which again is more accurate, but again just adds to the vibrancy and overall 70s feel of the figure. I love it. The neck brace is now painted grey instead of all just being silver as well, and the mouthpiece has now been painted black, which really highlights the mesh detailing in my opinion, and also, again, it's just more accurate. Some stuff that has stayed the same but is lovely to see again is the sort of gizmos and gadgets, as well as pipes that are seen on the front and the back of the figure, as well as this lovely sort of wire detailing on either arms. It's some lovely attention to detail on the figure. There's also some really lovely line detailing in between each joint of the figure, which makes the legs look quite similar to that of Mechagodzilla. Maybe it's a reference. There's also this pipe that's been done in translucent plastic, which I assume is meant to be pumping coolant into his systems or something. Who knows? There's some lovely detailing on the shoulders, as well as the front and back of the figure, but as Batman pointed out in his review, there's quite an amusing detail. There's now a bunch of copyright stuff sculpted onto the guy's butt.
Your ass is mine.
Throw jokes to the side for the moment, the robot also comes with his disintegrator gun as seen in the episode. This is a simple but lovely sculpt with some silver of course all over, as well as the gold to highlight certain bits of detail. There's this lovely railgun-like sculpt on the head of the thing, as well as some brass wires there, and this little dial on the side of the gun, which I assume is how you configure how to shoot it. The gun can also be held by human figures via the handle on the side, though I haven't really figured out how to get them to hold it properly yet. As is fairly obvious, and as you saw in the packaging, it's also taller than your average Doctor figure. And speaking of Doctors, let's take a look at the Fourth Doctor figure that comes with this set. Now, as it may be fairly obvious, this is a reuse of an existing sculpt, that being the Fourth Doctor from the Fourth Doctor Adventure set, But either way, I have no gripes with the reuse, considering that they've retouched the colours, made them brighter, more vibrant, and added some really lovely details, and honestly, I'm all for it. It really helps add to the vibrancy and 70s feel of the figure. The likeness is amazing to Tom Baker, particularly in his young years, with some really lovely detailing to be seen, such as the sort of hair which has all these curls in it, highlighted by this grey dry brushing, and that can be seen all around the head, the back, as well as the other side. There is of course also his sideburns, something you can't miss on a Tom Baker figure. His hat is also pretty nice too, pretty standard as what we would see with other 4th Doctor figures, with some lovely creasing detailing here and there. This is of course a reuse of an existing head sculpt, which is the head sculpt from the 4th Doctor figure from the 2011 11 Doctors pack. But I prefer the B&M head sculpt, considering he looks a lot less traumatized. Also, speaking of trademark 4th Doctor things, let's talk about his scarf. The paint this time round is much brighter compared to the other figure releases, and honestly I'd say it's been done quite well, and again adds to the overall look of the figure. When compared to the original release, the coat is now a much brighter red, which again is more accurate to what was seen in the episode and in this series. It also just helps to make it more vibrant and stand out on your shelf when compared to a lot of the other sort of darker coloured figures. The buttons on the coat have also been painted in this lovely sort of bronzy gold colour, and that's the same for the buttons all over the body, and this actually helps to contrast the red, but blend in with it nicely simultaneously. Apparently the new cravat is also more accurate, as is his new jumper, although I don't have the original release to hand so I can't say much here really. But I can say that they do look accurate from what I found online, and they do carry on that vibrancy that I love seeing throughout the figure. They also have added in more patterns, which again is more accurate to the show. I can also say that this does add a genuine sort of care to the figure, and makes it feel like they've really put effort into it. Moving down to the legs of the figure, we get this lovely speckled effect, which is really close to what we see in the show, and is just another bit of pinpoint accuracy, and honestly was a huge selling point for me because, you know, I'm a massive sucker for little details like these. Not to forget, his shoes also have a lovely bit of detail too. It's a shame the figure didn't come with a sonic screwdriver, but with all the positives, I'm not really too fussed. Now it's time for articulation. The robot's head can move from side to side with some limited rotation, as well as move his body around in a 360 degree at the torso, although do be warned considering the figure's body is quite floppy and loose, which will lead to issues standing him up straight. The robot's arms can move forward and backwards at a roughly 45 degree at the arm, as well as move at a roughly 75 degree at the elbow. The arms can pivot, being hindered by the shoulder though. His arms can rotate 360 degree, but sadly his hands cannot. His legs can move at a roughly 45 degree both forwards and backwards, with them both being able to rotate roughly 180 degrees forwards and backwards. His toes can also do this weird little clomp thing. Now for the Doctor's articulation. His head can move from side to side with some slight hindrance thanks to the scarf, with his arms being able to do a 360 degree rotation at the shoulder. His arms can also do a 360 degree rotation at the bicep, a 90 degree bend at the elbow, as well as a 360 degree rotation at the hand. The 4th Doctor's legs can move roughly forwards at a 90 degree angle, as well as to rotate 360 degrees at the calf. Standard articulation, he can do a 90 degree bend at the knee, as well as a 360 degree rotation at the waist. And to top it off, an impressive 75 degree bend at the leg thanks to a ball joint in his leg socket. Well, with that out of the way, that is the B&M Exclusive robot set review done and dusted. This is a lovely set to finally add to my collection, as it's really a centerpiece of the 70s. It's got bold colours, pinks, silvers, crazy scarves and crazy robots. It encapsulates that first episode of the 4th Doctor so well, I definitely recommend picking it up. If you can, although Dave the Scalper's probably got it by now and it's on eBay for at least twice the price. But either way, with that out of the way, that has been the K1 robot set review done and dusted. And I'll see you all next time. Hold on. See you next time.